I'm trying to complete every lifetime wish in The Sims 3. I'll start this video off the same as every other one, by giving everyone a huge thank you for watching. We changed up the format a couple episodes ago to roll for the next wish and traits ahead of time, so we already have our Sims traits and wish for this episode. If you need a refresher, the wish this time, present the Perfect Private Aquarium. Say that like 3 times fast, it's a crazy name. Have at least 13 different species of perfect fish in fish bowls. The traits? Artistic, light sleeper, dislikes children, frugal, good sense of humor. I did want to tweak the way that we pick traits a bit from here on as well, but we can talk about that at the end. First, let's go through the mini challenges. These are small little goals that I take from your comments and suggestions and try to implement them into the lifetime wish. I get no benefits or penalties from doing these, they are just fun. This episode is all about fishing, and I didn't get too many suggestions before I started, so it came down to these. Number 1, our sim is artistic, so they put their love of fish on full display by mounting one of every fish species in their perfect collection on the wall as art. Number 2, fish are friends, and art, I suppose, but for our sim, they respect them, so they would never use them for personal gain. No making money off of the fish that we catch. And number 3, this sim is frugal by nature, and it doesn't stop with them refusing to make money from their fish. They also just don't like spending money at all. So the last mini challenge is to save a ton of cash by never moving from our starter house lot. Now with everything decided, let's get on with the video. This is Guppy Fisher, happy resident of the sunny island of sunlit tides. Finally moving out on her own, she has managed to make it through most of her life avoiding complications. A simple house, simple relationships, and a simple hobby. Her life is quiet with little stress, and she just wants to keep it that way. With not much in the way of actual obligations, Guppy headed to the grocery store to stock up on food. And while she was there, she got a part-time job to keep some form of cash to pay the bills, but still give her enough time to enjoy her leisures. With her hunger needs covered for the time being, Guppy saw an opportunity to cut some future grocery costs by planting a garden. After a hard few hours of work, she headed over to the beach shore to start her journey into her real interests, fishing. She spent some time toasting in the sun, gaining her first skill point in fishing, until her hunger encouraged her to venture out and have some fun to celebrate. She headed to a bar and got the cheapest meal they had to offer, earning her some $4 nachos to fill her stomach. It was getting late, but Guppy still had energy to burn, so she started a chat with Alonzo Candelaria, and they hit it off pretty well, finding out that they shared the good sense of humor trait and cracking some jokes before she headed home to turn in for the night. The next morning, Guppy had a quick breakfast and got herself ready for the day. Once she was dressed, she headed over to the park to, well, fish. She got a few casts in before she had to head over to her job at the grocery store and then woke up the next morning to do it all again. Unfortunately, the universe had a different plan for her though, with the storm rolling in and hailing all day. Guppy pivoted her plans and headed over to the bookstore instead. She actually dropped a few bucks for a change and got some books on fishing to pass the time since the weather was not fish friendly for her today. After work, the weather still hadn't changed, so she spent just a bit more cash to make herself a little reading nook and bunker down for the night to read. The next morning, the storm let up and Guppy got some gardening done. Ooh, a tax return. A little extra cash in the pocket doesn't hurt, I'll take it. Reading her fishing books had taught Guppy about bait, so she spent a bit of that return on some more lettuce so that she could use it to fish for goldfish. She headed over to the park and, a child.
There is only one thing worse than a simmer. Boom. A child. No.
At least Guppy was separated from it by a river. She still had to watch this woman toss it around though. And another one? What was this? Bring your baby to the park day? As long as they didn't bother Guppy, she didn't really care. She could put up with it. She eventually headed to her work shift, and later that night she thought she should treat herself for putting up with being around toddlers. She spent some more of her tax return on a little rowboat and a used car so she could get around town faster. She was quickly starting to fall into a routine, so the next day she decided to take her rowboat out to do some sea fishing. The next few days after that were mostly just spent some quiet time fishing in her spare time and going to work and doing more fishing the next days. Just the way she liked it. She did shake things up every once in a while by visiting the occasional club, but her life was mostly stable and quiet. Since she didn't work on Saturday, she headed to the library to see if she could find any fishing books that she could read for free. They didn't really have any, but she did have one that she hadn't finished yet, so she stopped for a while to read before Alonzo walked in. She threw her best comedy routine at him, and after chatting for a bit, they became quick friends before Guppy went over to the diner for a bite to eat. Then she found a little fishing spot with a pond where she settled down to fish her night away. In the hail. Probably not the best idea, but okay. The rain passed by Sunday, so Guppy headed to the grocery store to buy some more bait, then to the bookstore to get some more books about bait, and ended back at the fishing pond to try to finally catch her first perfect fish. Unfortunately, her hunger caught up with her first, so she had to retreat back home, and she got abducted by aliens. The next day was back to work, but right after her shift, she returned to the pond and got right back to her real work. It took her a few casts, but her last piece of bait, she did it, catching her first perfect fish with a perfect goldfish. She was finally on her way. As a note, I had gotten a tip to keep fish out of fish bowls until I had them all because they could die, and I did start that way and by keeping them in a chest, but that will change later, and I will start putting them in bowls. I wanted to add a bit more challenge because fishing is pretty straightforward to begin with, so I thought that it would be fair to have to care for them, but just know that I do still have them. They're just away for now. The next day, Guppy got a special gift. She had sent off for the next best goldfish that she caught to be mounted and got the plaque back in the mail, giving her a beautiful wall hanging of a goldfish to decorate her house with. After work, Guppy returned to the pond, hoping that her good luck would continue and she could catch another perfect fish in the same spot, and after a few hours, she reeled in the perfect minnow, giving her 2 of the 13 perfect fish for her collection. With 2 successful perfect fish, it was time to take a break, so after work the next day, Guppy headed to the bar to celebrate. It was mostly dead, but she played some video games and danced with a few strangers before heading home and getting some sleep. She got up early enough the next day to get some fishing in before work and caught a second perfect goldfish, made it to level 6 in the fishing skill, and caught a perfect toad, her 3rd perfect fish, before she had to head off for her shift. She spent the night reading up on fishing bait and woke up the next morning to send off for her mounted toad and got some more fishing in before her Friday shift. She wasn't as lucky catching a perfect fish this time, but with the weekend coming, she would have more time. She went to bed early and got up well before the sunrise to take her rowboat out to sea at 3 a.m. to get some early morning fishing. By about 8 a.m., she was starting to feel hungry, so she returned to shore and headed over to the diner to fill her stomach. She spent the remaining energy she had fishing at the pond and headed home at about 5 p.m., dead tired and finally slept for the day. The next day, being Sunday, it was another opportunity to be lazy and just fish all day, but it was also a day that changed her life. A family member of hers passed away, and Guppy was offered a substantial sum of money. With her budgeted spending, it would last her quite some time if she accepted it. Let's be real, of course she was going to accept it, but what she didn't think about was that it kind of came with a condition. This is Angel, Guppy's lost family member's child, and her new responsibility if she wanted to keep that inheritance. Guppy learned really quick that she should have read the fine print before she signed, but there was no going back now. She had to spend a bit of the cash to make an extension to give Angel a room. She also made sure to get a baby carrier. She would rather not be around kids when she didn't have to, but she still refused to spend money when it wasn't necessary, so that kid was coming with her if she could avoid the cost of a babysitter. Unfortunately for her, a storm rolled in, so she couldn't really do any fishing. She packed up the child and instead headed to the art gallery. The entire trip, she was subjected to baby babble, and her impending headache meant that she would have to teach this kid to talk ASAP. Since fishing was out of the question, she spent some time doing just that, teaching Angel a little bit of how to talk before heading home to have some dinner. A meteor shower? Great. Now the house is on fire. After putting out the flames, Guppy collected the meteors from the lot and put her new toddler ward to bed to turn in for the day. The next morning, Guppy tried to adapt to being responsible. She swallowed her disdain for the squishy tiny human and got her some breakfast as she fed herself at the same time. Fishing always made her feel better though, so she put the kid in the carrier and took off for the day. She spent a little of her inheritance on herself as well and got a sailboat that she took out to do some sea fishing. Why is Angel blinking like this? It must be Guppy trying to manifest the powers of the universe to pretend like she isn't there, but instead she is constantly reminded every second that she has to listen to baby babble while cleaning up diapers and drool for the next substantial portion of her life. Yeah, It's probably something like that. It didn't matter too much about her existential crisis because it started to hail, and that meant it was time to retreat. Her and Angel made it back home, and since they were again stuck indoors, Guppy decided to remedy at least one of her issues with the kid by teaching her to talk. At least she could understand her now, so Guppy ended the day with a job well done. The next morning, Guppy tended to her growing fish collection before taking care of the necessities, packing up the kid, and heading out to her favorite fishing spot. She still had 10 perfect fish to catch, and she couldn't let anything slow her down. As if the universe was answering her call, she quickly caught the perfect rainbow trout, giving her fish number 4, and after fishing for basically the whole day, she managed to finally catch a perfect black goldfish as well for fish number 5. Returning home triumphant, Guppy got Angel to bed at 4 a.m. like a responsible parent before she herself crashed in bed, and then they got up around 2 p.m. the next day. After getting ready, Guppy headed out to do some more fishing, and she left Angel to play or do whatever it is that toddlers do next to the pond as she focused on trying to catch the perfect catfish. She didn't manage to succeed before it started to rain again, so they headed home and I started to reorganize the fish display. After expanding the house again to create a fish room, I had enough bowls to house all 13 perfect fish. All I would need to do is keep them alive. The next day, Guppy placed the fish that she had caught up until now and hung up some more of her mounted art to decorate for each perfect fish she already collected. Guppy was also back to work. She had a few days off when she first took in Angel, but she truthfully wouldn't complain about a bit of a break. From the child, by the way, not work. She even splurged after work to buy some more fishing books and was totally not avoiding going home by going out fishing. Look, if she had to pay for a babysitter because of work, she might as well get her money's worth. She strolled in the house at 1 a.m. and headed to bed. The next day was Saturday, so she packed up the kid to head out for, you guessed it, some fishing. Her odd hours of operation were finally starting to take a toll on the toddler, and she peacefully napped in the carrier for most of the day. Guppy wouldn't complain, she was enjoying the quiet. She unfortunately didn't catch anything worthwhile and returned home to do some casual house activities. Oh, come on! The next morning, Guppy reached another milestone. Not only was it her birthday, but she finally taught the little human to use the potty on her own. One less reason to have to clean up, for her the better. It was Sunday, and she was off work again, so she spoiled herself as a birthday present and actually got a babysitter so she could focus a bit more today. That focus worked out in her favor when she managed to catch the perfect Siamese catfish, adding another fish to her collection. Now that she had the fish covered, she headed to the grocery store to get the bait for her next target. She started with a blowfish, finding a nice little spot on the beach where she could stand at the shore and cast a line for some sea fish she hadn't caught before. She spent the whole day here celebrating her birthday next to this tranquil spot of silence, sea air. Only to come home to find that the babysitter was completely incompetent and that there was a screaming toddler shattering her eardrums as soon as she entered. Wonderful! Guppy sent off for some more mounted fish and placed the new perfect fish she caught in bowls. I don't remember when she caught the perfect red herring fish either, but she did at some point, so she plopped that one in the bowl too alongside the Siamese catfish, bringing her total up to 9 out of the 13 perfect fish in bowls. The next day, Guppy did some chores around the house before her afternoon shift at the grocery store started. She also got her new wall mounts to put up in her fish room and got some reading done to try to finish up her fish books. As a note, I did fail one of the challenges at this point. My inventory was getting crowded with fish, and I was getting annoyed. So I sold the extra fish in my inventory because that is the most efficient way I know how to get rid of them. So yeah, we failed that challenge. Guppy came back pretty tired from her shift, so she laid down to take a nap. She could use a break from fishing too, and there wasn't anything else she needed to do today. Oh yeah, it's the kid's birthday. Guppy knew she was forgetting something. At least she could finally cut out the expensive babysitters, with Angel being a child, and she could finally take care of herself and give Guppy back some of her much-desired carefree freedom she craved. They were even able to have a pleasant breakfast together, and while she was off at school, Guppy could, and this shouldn't be a shock to you, do some fishing. After school, Guppy was at work, so Angel tagged along with her new friend Kiwi to hang out at his house. Guppy didn't think twice when she had the house to herself for a bit, so she got the chance to soak in the bubble bath and unwind while she waited on Angel to come home. The next few days were similar. Angel would head to school and Guppy would do some fishing. By Wednesday, a bad storm rolled in and it rained for literally 2 days straight. It started on Wednesday and persisted all the way through Friday, which was leisure day. Angel had talked about wanting to learn to fish, and even if she didn't like kids, fishing was something that Guppy could focus on all day. She was going to take her out for a fishing trip, but with the rain, they changed up their plans and instead went over to visit Guppy's friend, Alonzo. He had invited her over, and since he too had a child, it seemed like a good chance to catch up and give Angel someone to play with. Guppy got to meet Alonzo's wife, and Angel got to play with their daughter. It didn't take long, though, for Guppy to get the feeling that something else was going on. Alonzo and his wife were not getting along, literally arguing in the kitchen with her in earshot while there were eerie Jaws music playing in the background. Eventually, Guppy just thought it would be best to give them some time and space to work out whatever it was that was going on over there, so she and Angel headed back out into the storm to get some food at the diner. The next day finally saw the end to the rain, and by it being Saturday, it gave Guppy the chance to actually bond with Angel by going out to teach her to fish. By noon, Guppy finally caught her perfect blowfish and shifted her focus to salmon. By Sunday morning, Guppy was back on her hunt for salmon, and Angel went to visit her new best friend. Later that day, Guppy's new mounts came in the mailbox, so she put up the jellyfish, blowfish, and starfish, which she caught and then placed them in their bowls, leaving her with only one perfect fish left to complete her collection. Guppy was close to fulfilling her biggest dream, and she already had her sights set on her last fish, the salmon. Monday was the start of a new week, and Guppy was going to finish her goal before the end of the week was out. She could feel it. It was also Angel's birthday, so she would finally be free of having to worry about the frustrations of a child. That night, Angel grew up pretty happy given Guppy's indifferent attitude toward her, and she gained the shy trait after a random roll. Tuesday morning gave the two a chance to chat over waffles that Angel made herself before Guppy hit the beach to keep looking for that salmon. She made it to level 10 of the fishing skill, maxing it out, and right before her shift started for the afternoon, she did it. She reeled in the perfect salmon. Her true moment of completion would have to wait for a bit though. First, she finished her shift and then sent off for her final fish mount. The next morning, after a nice breakfast, she hung up her reward certificate for maxing out the fishing skill, put up her salmon mount, and then placed her perfect salmon in the bowl for 13 out of 13 different species of perfect fish in a bowl and completing her lifetime wish. If you made it this far, then of course I want to give you a huge thank you. This one was really straightforward and simple to do for the most part. I would probably say it's more simple than some of the career-based wishes we've done up to this point. The fishing skill is pretty passive in general, and it pretty much required you to just let your sim stand there and fish, and there's not much else to it. I tried to work on learning the baits for the first time, since I never really cared to venture into that part before, but even then it just kind of mostly felt like RNG and luck. I didn't dislike it, by the way. Fishing skill has always been cool, just short, sweet, and simple. So with that completed, let's see how we did with our challenges. Did we mount one of every fish species in a bowl? Yes. Yes, we did. Did we not make money from our fish? No. I actually mentioned that in the middle of the challenge. Yeah, I failed that one. I was just getting sick of a cluttered inventory, so that one was a fail. That one was an absolute fail. But did we never move from our starter house lot? Yes. Yes, we did. Or no, you know what I mean. You guys know what I mean. We didn't move from the lot. We succeeded in that one, okay? But as always, if you guys think I failed one of these mini challenges and I need to revoke my bragging rights, just let me know down in the comments below. But until then, I want to say thank you all so much for watching, and if you liked this video, then please give it a like or don't. That is up to you, but I do hope that you'll come back and join me for more of The Sims 3 completing every lifetime wish next time. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Are you still there? Good, because we still have to pick the traits for the next sim. Before we do that though, I do want to, apologize because this did take a while, but to be honest guys, November sort of knocked the wind out of my sails. I'm getting back to it now, so I'm getting back into the groove, and I was hoping to get this video out. I'm hoping to still get it out November 30th, but if not, it'll be like December 1st, and I apologize for that being so late. I try to get these out as efficiently as I can. I do want to give a bit of a warning though, because I actually in December have to go get like 3 wisdom teeth pulled out, so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to want to talk when that happens. So I'm going to go ahead and start the next lifetime wish. I normally wait like a day or two, maybe like a week, to give people a chance to offer mini challenges, but with that coming up in like mid-ish, December-ish, I kind of want to see if I can go ahead and get the stuff recorded and then scripted and then voiced over so that I can actually edit while my teeth are in pain. Because I'm pretty sure I won't want to actually do any voiceover at the time, but I want to try to get a video out for December as well. So I'm going to jump in and try to start working on that as soon as possible. Still leave mini challenges if I can work them into the story in a reasonable way, even if I'm in the middle of playing, because if you couldn't already tell, I do not play all of this in one sitting. It is way too much. But if I can work stuff in a good way, I will still try to work them into the storyline. I'll even try to come up with a few little challenges for myself. But first things first, we do have to roll for that. I just thought I'd give that little heads up before we get started. So let's go ahead and roll for the lifetime wish. Master Romancer. Ooh, spicy. I like it. Woohoo in 5 different places with 5 different Sims. This should be interesting. All right, now let's roll for the traits. I mentioned in the beginning that I wanted to adjust how we do this a bit because we've already seen some repeats and you guys gave some good suggestions. Here's what I'm going to try for now, and we can always adjust this if we need to because we still end up with repeats, but we'll see. I am going to remove all of the traits that the previous sim has had from the wheel. So if a sim has had it, for this spin, we're not going to see it on the wheel. All right, it's going to be gone. So this sim should have completely new set of traits that we have not seen with no risk of repeats. And at the end, I'm going to roll a wheel that's going to have all of the traits that the previous sims have had, minus the one we just saw. So none of Guppy's traits will be on the list. But if any of the sims from episodes before this one had those traits, I'm going to roll a wheel. It's going to have all of those traits on it, and we're going to randomly put one back into rotation. So that means the next sim could possibly have it, but it's not a guarantee because it's still going to be random. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you'll see as we go through with the rolls here, and then if it still seems like we're getting too many repeats too often, we can always tweak this again, but that's what we're going to give a try this time. So let's see how it works out. First up, mental. Virtuoso. Let's roll for physical now. Social. Charismatic. Oh man, that is a lucky one. That's a lucky one. That's actually going to be a benefit. That's going to be a huge benefit, actually. That one, this is like the first time I think we've had a trait that genuinely will probably help us, actually. I feel like charismatic is a good one. And lifestyle. Now let's roll to see which category we're going to select from again. Social again. Okay, that's where the juicy traits are. Grumpy. Oh man, okay. I think that this is a good set of traits here. All right, so our next sim is going to pursue the Master Romancer lifetime wish, and the traits we have are virtuoso, neat, charismatic, loves the outdoors, and grumpy. So as always, if you guys have any mini challenges, please feel free to leave them. Like I said, I'm going to get started early, but if you have any ideas, I will absolutely still try to work some of them into the story. It's really fun just trying to have some other elements thrown in there, even as a mini challenge for me, or just to help adjust the story, or have some interesting things happen story-wise. But other than that, I think that's it, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for sticking around. Yo, I almost forgot my own new rule. My fault. I forgot. We're going to spin this wheel right here. So these are all of the traits that previous sims have had, not Guppy, but any sims before her that we've already used. And I'm going to give this wheel a roll, and we're going to put one of these back at random, which means that the next sim we roll has the potential to have this, but traits are still picked at random, so they still may not end up with it. It's just that it'll be back as an option after this roll. So let's see what we get. Kleptomaniac. Okay, so there you go. Now we have Kleptomaniac back into rotation, which means our next sim could be a Kleptomaniac. Might not be, probably won't be, because there's still a bunch of other traits that we have to pick from at random. But that's the way I'm going to go with this for now. It can always be adjusted again later. Sorry about that. I did almost forget this, but I'm actually gone this time now. Sorry. All right. Bye-bye.